Hi, good afternoon. Especially after a nice lunch, happy to be here. I'm Sachin Dalal. I am the North America lead for Smart Water from Accenture. Uh, Water is my passion. The reason being it's so dear to every one of us. So I kind of started this understanding the nuances, how we can transform using technology in everyone's life. So this is more towards that. And what I really want to do is two-front, is walk you through the presentation and also show you a demonstration of the actual production environment, uh, the application which is Thames Water. So I'll show you what the art of possible, what has been done. Uh, and I'm also working with multiple cities and counties in North America to take this to the next level. So pretty simple. And I'm happy to answer questions during or after, but I think please keep your questions at the end. That will I can answer in more cohesive manner. So what I really want to start is walk you through, especially in water, some of things are very unique here. I mean, especially in North America, relative to Europe for that matter. So what are the three things? We have the regulators, which is state and federal government. We have the operators and the customers. So think about what is the joining thing is everyone wants to provide a good services, okay? So having said that, I just put three simple bullet points to bring our ideas together. So from a regulator perspective, they are not looking as of yesterday or today, they are looking 25 years down the line. I mean, some of the incidents, or rather an exceptional level of rain happened in Sacramento, we have too much of water, right? How we can optimize that? So federal or state government is looking at the long-term solution. How can they preserve the water resources which is there? And also the environment comes together and health and safety of citizens. From the operator side, which is cities and counties, their more objective is to make the maximum use of our tax dollars, right? So how do we do the capital improvement projects? Huge for them. I mean, each counties or municipality spends billions of dollars. So how do we can optimize that? The assets life, which is the physical assets like pumps and pipes, which goes in there. And from a customer, as a customer, we are always looking that I want the water to be available and a good quality at all time. So how do we bring it all this together? But the good thing is everyone is looking for a common theme, which is the services. With that keeping in mind, I just put together the 8 challenges what everyone is facing, right? On the left-hand side, obviously climate change, we saw a huge amount of, or rather unprecedented amount of water or rainfall which has come in. So that is a huge impact on that. Assets, which I kind of indicated, yes, they have been, especially in the old cities like Chicago, Detroit, there are old assets. When I say talk about the assets, is the pipes and infrastructure which has been laid. Those are 50 or 75 years old. So there's a life to that. So everyone is thinking, what do I do next about that? Population growth, obviously it's happening. And there's a capital limitation, as you can imagine, when you go for the states and, with the state or at the county level, the budgets don't get approved. So, even if it is approved, they're expecting, like people like all of us are expecting our government to do more with less. So that's what is coming in. Urbanization, production costs. Your electricity cost is going up. The chemicals which goes in the water treatment, like chlorine or other chemicals, that's increasing. Scarcity of resources, compliance, and customer expectations. So these are the typical challenges what we are seeing in the industry. So having said that, what is really changing is the digital transformation, right? Everyone is using technology. I was in the other keynote speaker, people are talking about AI. But I want to show you how it has been utilized in water industry, and it's very near and dear. Having said that, from a technology perspective, as we are talking about innovation, we have the cloud, obviously Amazon, everyone is there. Open sources has come in, which has been like Scoop, Splunk, everything is there. Mobility, everyone uses cell phone. It's that simple. In addition to that, what has happened in mobility, the sensors, which was exorbitant, like $10,000, is now like literally like 2 or 3 cents. So that is transforming the whole, the industry around the assets, how to capture the data. So that mobility is changing it. Infrastructure, obviously, Internet of Things, we do it. So these are the disruptions which are happening. But what is happening, most important thing is, whatever we were imagining probably about 5 years back, it's happening now. And the most important thing which I look at it, and everyone has ability to make it happen much quicker than waiting for 5 years, So it is like literally in months you can start seeing the results of that. Huge shift. So pertaining to water industry, situation intelligence, what we call it, is the ability to look into what is happening now because of the sensors or the historical data, whatever we have, is available now. Cross-functional collaboration, now we are talking with the crew members who are in the field, as well as people who are making decisions. It's very collaborative, that thing is coming into the together. Supply collaborations, obviously the supply in the water industry is your chemicals and everything, so you are trying to get to the stage where it is just in time, so there is no probability there. Empowering workforce, as I gave an example, cities are using technologies to convey the message to the people, the crew members, to say there is a burst, go there and make it happen. Significant change. So this is possible, all this thing. But what is still a hype, what we in our digital world, we still call it as, is a smart networking. Like putting sensors across all the network. You have pipes, pumps, and everything. That's still there. Digital organization, everyone talks about, yes, we are digital, but what is digital? So that's a fundamental shift, and it's a cultural shift. So technology is always ahead, as expected at Moore's Law, but people have to change. So that's where we are talking about digital organization. Value as a services. Water will become as a service. Like we are expecting Amazon to be up and running. By the way, Amazon was down today, if anyone had known about it. But that's an expectation that Amazon has created. The same thing is going to happen very soon, for that matter. Digital workers, people will get really working together. So what does that lead? So you have fundamental shift in the industry, and there's a fundamental shift in the technology. How do we bring it all together? So these are the things what we really can transform. I mean, we as an employee, as a citizen, we have everything in our hand, and it is our responsibility, for that matter, to make it happen. And we have an opportunity also. That's the best part about it. Some of the things which obviously digital is doing, we are making good decisions based on data. Very critical, very critical. I mean, one of two questions which has typically been asked by wherever I go is, I got a lot of data, but I don't know what to do with that. That's a great problem to have, by the way, because you have something to start with, right? The other side of the spectrum of the people would be say, I don't know about anything about it, but I want to empower my people, my citizens, my employees. How do I do it? Because the digital is there. So those are the things which I'm hearing, and it's a perfect opportunity in my opinion. Some of the challenges, as I said, it's all data-driven now. Data is coming in through. So your systems, ERP systems are there. They're sitting on their own architecture, or for that matter, is not talking. So data is residing. Poor quality of data. One of the interesting things which I heard was, I got about terabytes of data, but it's all bad. I was saying data is never bad. There is a value to that data. So how the fundamental thing is, what questions are you asking? On what basis you are making the decision that data is bad, right? So it's always give and take, for that matter. Missing data, old way of working, and limited user uptake. So these are the typical technology challenges, but what I really want to show is that this is on the top, what you're seeing is what was working in the past, right? But what is happening because of the whole digitization, or for that matter, the big data concept coming into the picture, we are working in an integrated fashion. So our ability to look across the assets, the crew, as well as citizen, is all brought in together. And this has been made possible because of big data technologies. A lot of questions, they say, okay, what technology I should use? What is my architecture should we use? I take a step back as, what problem are you trying to solve? That's a fundamental thing. If my objective as a regulator is to ensure that my resources are going to be for next 25 years, that's a good question. Then you take a step back. What are my data models associated with that? And I'll walk you through around that. Typically what happens is, so Accenture has been working on water clients for over now, 5 years. Over the course of the time, we have built assets. And what we have done is to really simplify the whole concept for the business users, when I say the regulators or state, or for that matter, as well as technology guys, because that's what we are trying to accomplish. On the left, on my right-hand side, or for that matter, left-hand side, you see from the left is typically BI. Everyone says, I have the reports, great, but that was about 10 years back. What are you trying to do with the reports? So that was, A very good start with. Subsequently, we started looking into why did it happen? Now, that's next level of questions coming in. The third aspect, which is very important, is, I'm correlating to what we just saw in Sacramento. Why did we have so much of rain? Did we predict it? That's a good question. So the question is moving from, I know it's going to rain, to why it rained. Now you're trying to be more proactive or more predicting, moving towards a prediction. How does that thing happen? And obviously, at the end of the day, you are trying to take some business decisions, very critical, right? So take, for example, when the cities are there, right, the fundamental problem is there's too much of rain. What happens is the roads are over-flooded. That is one. Second, the manholes, there's so much of water coming in. But the cities has not planned up all the infrastructure based on what is the change in climate is happening. The data is enabling them to think 2 steps ahead. Okay. Huge change in the uptick there. So fundamentally, if you see the technology, in my opinion, is immaterial. Now, coming from a technology company, the reason I'm saying is that this is all available right now. You can go and buy, Hadoop, for that matter, bring it, it's free, right? But the question is, how do we bring it all together? That's very important. And that goes back to what are we trying to accomplish on the top is, are we trying to look into the sludge management? Are we trying to look into plant performance management? What is the objective? If you ask, I have 10 technology, make it happen for me, make it work for me, you are not going to get the right answer. It's always that way. So just to overall give you, simplify this, and this has been very successful, as I'll show you in the demo too. On the far right side, because the technology is available, we have the ability to look at the meter data, which is the AMI data, right? Sensors are being deployed on the field. So again, there's a uniqueness around there. But what has happened, if you look into the all spectrum there are 3 sets of data, just to really simplify, okay? One is the historical data, which we have been capturing in ERP systems or other. That's called historical or historian data. The other set of data, which is happening now, okay, as the sensors as data coming in. The beauty about all the data which is residing is we have the future data. Look at the weather. It can tell you what's going to happen. So you are looking at the past, present, and future. And that's what is helping you to make predictions around that. Huge change. So as I said, the middle part is from a technology, it's really simplified for that matter. Because you can download like Amazon Web Services, you can get your Hadoop on the fly and everything. But how do we glue it together? That's very important for that. On top of it, what has happened on the right extreme here is the visualization. Everyone would like to have that information on their fingertips, either through mobile or through visualization tool, dashboards, and most important thing, everything has become like Google Maps, right? So intuitive, really simplified. So the ability to get the data and to visualize immaterial. It's really transformed the whole thing. So getting it all together, that's where the results are going to very important. Just to give you, from a water industry perspective, huge problem, by the way. It's nothing new. In our life, you must have also seen it, leakage and burst. The important thing which is that when the leakage or burst happens, no one knows where the problem is. It's always the symptoms, right? I'm not getting, my water pressure is low, for that matter, that is one, or there's a decoloration, right? These are the typical problem what we see. But from an industry perspective, the one fundamental change which is also happening is the ability to capture that data. Second thing which is happening very much in utilities is the workforce is aging, right? People don't like to come and work in the water industry. That's a psyche. So that's where we have to make a shift, what they call it as change management. So just to give an example, and we have proven this value around that, and over the course of the time, what we have done is, whether the Accenture as a company working with multiple clients, is we have built both on the model side, like if the data is coming from, as you saw in the previous slide, from multiple source system, and we have defined over 42 use cases, industry specific, and we keep on building on that. Based on that, we can make predictions where the problem is going to be, okay? And that's what we are getting into the next stage of predictive. Huge, huge important for everyone. during the process, and we are hearing machine learning, AI, and everything, how do we incorporate that? Just to make it very simple, how it touches people like you and I is, if I'm capturing the data from sensors, weather, and everything, so there's a learning which is happening, and based on that, we're making models, right? How do we use that information to make next steps? So these are the four models which are very effective. I mean, they are being used, by the way, just to, it can tell you where the leakage and burst is going to happen. Okay? From a regulatory perspective, very critical, because now you're trying to predict or make a model which is 25 years further down the line, because based on my present consumption and factors like my growth in population and everything, how do I ensure that the water is sustainable? Do I build that much of capacity in terms of the reservoirs for that matter, okay? Third most important thing is that because of the seismic changes, obviously, especially in California, there's been huge impact on that. How do we factor that? So if you start looking, take a step back, there are multiple variables which are coming in, and you're trying to make a model based on top of that. It's again data-driven. You're not making, the guesstimates are on, you have the ability to look at the data and you can make predictions for that matter. So this is just an example of how the things are being leveraged. So there are two use cases. One is a private company, Thames Water, and I'll show a demo of that too in live in action, is how they're using it. I mean, just to give an idea about all typical problems. You have disparate, the data is residing all over the places. The ability to analyze is very less. And also, the compliance is becoming much more stricter. Like take, for example, in our place, in North America, lead has become a big issue. Flint, we had incidents. But every time there's a story, the politicians and everyone gets scared, including us as a citizen. So everyone is behind that. So how do I ensure the quality of water is great, is perfect? So those are the regulatory things that are coming into the picture, and people are getting more aware of the consequences. Assets and increased customer expectation, which is huge, because being a private company, they are more interested to serve the citizens, and also they are trying to optimize the cost. So they're trying to balance three things. The first thing, the first slide, what I showed was the regulator, which is the regulators, the cities, as well as the operators, as well as the customers. So big challenge for them. So how did they do it? I mean, it was a journey, by the way. I'm not going to say it was very short for them, but the objectives were very clear from a business perspective, and everyone went together. And yes, government helped them to put the rules and regulations. They had something called AMP5, AMP6, and that really catapulted all the progress that had to be made. So on the water production side, which is the cost there, and probably you guys would know, the biggest impact what makes is the network management, right? Because the asset, something which you cannot see, you cannot predict. So you're looking at data to give you ideas about it, right? So that's where the huge benefit came in the first year itself. So over the course of the time, they were every year using the technology and the data which is there, they are able to save $50 million. Huge money every year. So the customers are happy, obviously, and the shareholders are happy. So this was the objective which was driven by the private company.